Welcome to Lily High on Life. And David Schulberg is our special guest today.
It's interesting to be here with you, Lily. I'm going to potentially find out some things about myself that I was not aware of, perhaps.
And I thank you for sharing it with our listeners as well, because it's all about knowing people a little better. When you bump into somebody in the street, you have no idea what's going on in their lives or what they've been through or not. And so this is a way to get to know people a little better so that our listeners can maybe get to know their own friends and people that they know a little better as well. So thank you for being here. And you, of course, are a presenter on J-Air. You have your own show. And what time is it? And it's the Israel Connection?
That's right, the Israel Connection, which typically will be on from 4 till 5 on a Wednesday and repeated 1 to 2 on a Friday.
And you have a really busy life. You've found all these really interesting things to do once you retired, and we can talk about what retired really means later on. But tell us about some of the things that really make you happy in your day-to-day life now.
Well, I'm not fully retired. I still work part-time. My wife has a business, a Kumon education business, and I work together with her in that business. And for me, it's really a very fascinating experience after my working life, where I was in the computer industry, working very much in back rooms with computer systems, often not even relating directly with other people, more involved with equipment, machines, computers, that sort of thing. And now to be involved with young children and helping them in their...
What's the name of the company?
It's called Kumon Education. It's formerly it's a Japanese method originally. That it produces, or it deals with maths and English and Japanese, but of course most people in Australia wouldn't be interested in Japanese, but maths and English, which are fundamental skills for people at school. Some children want to hone them and become really very adept in maths and English, because these are the skills that are used across all subjects. Or some children are lagging a bit behind and need a bit of extra boost to be able to catch up with the rest.
So you work with your wife now in that business?
Yes.
Teaching?
Well, it's worksheet based. There's very little direct teaching involved. It really is a system where the children will learn on their own bat when they reach a new concept. The concept is mapped out for them with examples. If they can't get their head around the concept, they can ask us for assistance, and then they do further and further examples that reinforce this new
What age
technique.
Group?
Children have turned up who are 2.5.
Wow.
One little boy who, when he went into a tantrum because he was doing his Kumon, would get up on the desk and in his nappies, and we feared what might happen next. That was one extreme, but on the other hand, we've got even people at university level that feel as though their maths and English skills need to be improved and come along and do that at Kumon.
So it's anybody that feels that they need some extra help with their education?
The mainly students who are in primary school.
Right.
That find that they are not doing as well as they would like. Their self-esteem in these subjects is not as good as it should be, and their parents find that Kumon is a very good way of getting them to improve, to catch up with the rest.
So you haven't retired, you've changed careers.
Well, that's part-time, but that sustains me in other things that I do that I don't get paid for.
And J-Air is out of love, not profit. None of us.
Oh, yes, it's totally voluntary. I've been doing my show now for over 6 years. I think I'm one of the longest stayers on the station when it comes to... I've done at least 260 programs nominally, but then there were a whole lot of other things that I did which didn't get a number, that were kind of specials.
And the show came out of your passion.
The show came out of an opportunity, actually. with Voice of Israel, which was a new startup in Israel way back in 2015. And they provided an opportunity when they were giving us the news on Jair at that time. They also provided us an opportunity to speak to the people that worked with Voice of Israel. It was like getting interviews on a silver platter that I really couldn't resist. What happened shortly after that was that Voice of Israel went belly up, and I'd already got started with the Israel Connection. I wasn't going to drop my bundle just because Voice of Israel wasn't there no longer to hold my hand. So I just kept going, but that's what initially got the ball rolling.
Oh, excellent. And you found that you loved interviewing people?
I love dealing with Israeli advocacy and issues around Israel. It's a subject that's very close to my interest and my heart. So I have an opportunity here to talk to people that I normally wouldn't get an opportunity to speak to. If these are people of some reputation, and because I approached them as a journalist, as an interviewer, all of a sudden I've got a ticket through the door to talk to people that I wouldn't get the opportunity to talk to otherwise.
It's amazing, isn't
yes.
it? I lived in Los Angeles for 26 years and also had access to people that I never thought I'd have access to. And it's a wonderful feeling, especially when it's close to your heart. And at one stage Israeli generals would come out to LA to fundraise for different organisations, and I'd get to travel with them for 3 or 4 days and hear them speak at all. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
It's very empowering if you've got strong feelings and beliefs on Israel, and if you have a chance to share those and develop those together with other people. That really you feel that really strengthens you with the views that you hold and gives you an opportunity to really do something about those views, not just sit back on the couch and complain when Israel is getting bashed continually.
Very, very true. Can you sort of recognise or pinpoint where your love of Israel and the advocacy came from?
Well, I went to Israel for the first time in 1978. After travelling the world for over 2 years. It was the last leg of a journey away from Australia for over 3 years, as we did in those days.
Yes.
We're so far away from the rest of the world. When we go, we make the most of it. So it was the last leg, and there I met some family of mine, stayed with them. I went to Ulpan. I have a fondness for language so I enjoyed learning Hebrew. I spent time going to Ulpan for the half of the day, and then the other half of the day I went down to the beach and did yoga and swimming and other recreational activities on the beach. You can imagine that was quite a pleasant day's activity, day after day, for quite a few months, until they told me at Ulpan that they didn't see any reason for me to come anymore, because my Hebrew was good enough that I could just go out now and carry out free discourse with people out there on the street.
Did you expect to love Israel that much?
I didn't really know. I did have a Jewish identity, and I think that most commonly with the Jewish identity, if you've got Zionism that's built into that, it's pretty logical that you're going to like Israel.
But you didn't go to a Jewish school.
No, I never went to a Jewish school, no. But I did go to Jewish youth groups and Jewish activities, extracurricular activities outside of my school. So I did develop a sense of Jewishness through that means.
And your parents were traditional at home in keeping the high holidays, or was it more than that? Yeah,
pretty traditional. Yeah, not religious. My father would go to synagogue on the holidays. I don't think we even kept Shabbat regularly, but we're very much a traditional Jewish family, and they had a coterie of their own Jewish friends, and I also connected because of the children that they had of their friends. So I built up a large number of Jewish friends that supplemented what was going on when I was at the non-Jewish day school.
And your other travels to all these other countries, Israel was last by design so you could stay a little longer, or?
No, just the way it worked. The US was where I went to first because I got a fellowship to go to Columbia University that kicked it all off. And then I just was travelling in the same direction from there. I went from US eventually to London and stayed in London for 4 months or so. Then my brother came and joined me together with somebody else, and we bought a car. I had bought a car already, and we drove that car from London to Rome.
Both of your brothers came? Or
no, only one of my brother, my younger brother, Robert. And when I got to Italy, I went to Brindisi, caught the ferry there to Cyprus. My brother had left me by that stage. And from Cyprus, the ferry took me to Israel, and I landed in Israel at the very end of 1977.
Do you remember what it was? Do you remember what it was like at that time, travelling on your own around these foreign countries? I mean, as a from a Jewish family, parents, especially after the Holocaust, are very protective and don't want you to cross the street by yourself. And here you are on your own, wandering around the whole of Europe.
Well, my first leg was in New York, and that's where I stayed, lived there for 18 months, and grew very, very fond of New York. New York, as we know, is a very Jewish city, so
that's true.
I was able to connect very much there with other people who were Jewish. Every second person we met who was there was Jewish.
But how does a fellowship how did you even get a fellowship? It's not something that somebody knocks on your door. What made you apply for it, look for it?
Well, I'd finished a Master's of Applied Science in air pollution control at Melbourne University. I wanted to do a PhD. That was the next step, logically, I thought. I got an opportunity to go to Columbia, one of the most esteemed universities in America.
How did that opportunity come about?
Because well, you write to a university and you tell them what your record is, your scores.
So why did you choose Columbia? What was it about? Was it where it was? Was it the school itself? Was it what motivated you to even write away for something like that?
Well, I think I went to Columbia because I was interested also in New York. At the time, I had another interest on my plate, so I wasn't going to go there just to be an old stodgy academic. I fortunately had this other string to my bow at the time, because when the things fell through at Columbia, and we're talking about 1976, when the city was almost bankrupt, they were burning rubbish in the street, I couldn't find a research topic to do for my PhD. And I was, the fellowship had run out. If I was to continue studying there, I was going to have to be paying out of pocket. I never thought, after going through free education all my life, effectively thought I was going to suddenly start paying out of pocket when it was so unsure as to what I would do for my PhD. So what happened was the whole thing fell through. I didn't have a great fondness and belief in my supervisor at the time. I think he had about 30 odd students that he was supervising. If I ever got a chance to talk to him, it was like for 5 minutes, and he was always saying, I can give you 5 minutes now, but I've got to go to a meeting, or I've got somebody else that I need to talk to. It was always no time that I could spend when I had gone through and done my honours degree at Monash previously, and I had a supervisor there who was beside me the whole time, and we developed a very close relationship, and I really got a benefit out of doing that research together with somebody that was able to reinforce what I was doing. But in this case, this gentleman was so distant from what I was involved with, I wasn't getting any gain from him as being my supervisor. the whole thing fell through because I also was involved in dance already at that stage. I had trained as a dancer.
Was it difficult to make friends, or were people very friendly, or did you manage to create a social life there for yourself as well?
Well, I found people to live with almost immediately, who I still remain in contact with. One of the people that I did share the house with at that time, and she became a very close, supportive friend who would take me into her family for visits, away into other parts of the state, also to go and see things and do things together.
So you felt welcome. You felt at home.
I found other people as well very quickly who became long friends and provided a rudder for me while I was there.
And that's so important, because back in those days you couldn't just pick up the phone and ring home every day either.
No, that's true. Yeah, going back to my parents, my mother was extremely concerned about what I was doing. She relished the letters that I wrote. Everything that I wrote was there, paper and pen and paper.
Yes. Does she still have them?
No, she gave them all to me.
How wonderful. You've got them.
I've got the letters again there that I wrote to her, so I can go through those and see and relive the experience that I had while I was there.
And you were starting to say that you were a dancer. Was that from a very early age? Because I know you were involved in Israeli dancing later.
Well, I came to Israeli dancing later. I got involved with a dance company called the Modern Dance Ensemble in the mid-70s. My dancing started actually at Monash. I started firstly, I was keen on sport. I played soccer. But one day I sat next to a dancer in a lecture at Monash, and she told me, "Why don't you come along to a dance class?" And I did give it a try.
Because she was cute, or because...
No, I didn't. No, she wasn't the reason herself. What was appealing about going and doing dance classes were that when you walked in, you found that there were about 90% of the people there were women and 10% were men. And of those 10% who were men, probably 80% were gay, so they were no competition anyway.
So you
it was like a dream run.
Yes. Nice way to go through uni.
Yes. So I started there, and then I joined a company with a woman called Shirley McKechnie, but then I migrated to what was the Modern Dance Ensemble with a woman by the name of Margaret Lassiger, and that really got me going in dance. And after being there Margaret Lassiger was the mainstay of probably the main modern dance company in Melbourne during that period of time.
Wow. And so you performed as well?
Yeah, we performed. We did a season every year at the Union Theatre at Melbourne University for 2 weeks, and until 1976, when I went to Columbia, I really performed with that company. Didn't create dance as such. But when I went away and learned so much in New York and also in London, where I met other people that I worked together with, and came back to Australia in 1979, I suddenly had a new urge to choreograph, and so I created a lot of dances at that point of time, which was another way of self-expression, not just simply the movement that somebody else gave you, devising your own ideas yourself.
And that was quite an unusual thing for you to do, for a guy to do at the time. As you said, it was mainly women, but it was something inside you that you connected with about it that got you to continue doing it and continue it as a bit of a profession, it sounds like, as well.
We did get paid very small sums every now and again. A lot of it went back into the company, and another when I was in New York, I also got small remunerations when I was with a small company there. Really, the money wasn't the reason for doing it. There's a real boost you get, a real sense of achievement you get when you perform. It's very physical, but it's also very mentally satisfying.
And you also ride bikes a lot now. You're a cyclist. How often do you ride, and how?
Well, I ride a little bit more because I ride with a small number of people on a regular basis, and I've only done that since the beginning of the year.
The reason I ask you that is because you seem to follow things that give you pleasure and that you really enjoy, and they're different things. So the dance gives you a type of self-confidence and feeling good that bike riding doesn't. Bike riding, you get a different kind of enjoyment and pleasure out of it. I don't ride bikes, but I have friends who I think are totally mashiga, so I understand a little bit about the psychology. Are they connected in any way for you, or is it just about the enjoyment you feel while you're actually doing it?
The physicality is common to
both.
Both, yes. But I think I've always felt that a dancer at the highest level is the most supreme athlete of all. So that's what was something that drove me to be involved in that, because it was a way in which I could develop my body skills to the highest level that I would be capable of.
And then those things are so completely almost the opposite to what you actually trained for and did in university in IT and stuff. Because back in those days, it was the early days of computers and technology. And how were you drawn to that? Or what was it about that emerging technology at the time that really hooked you?
With my academic side, I mean, I achieved very well, very successfully in the academic arena. I was dux at my school, and I...
Fabulous. Your parents must have really been proud.
Yeah, my parents were very proud. And I also got a special scholarship, which they only awarded 4 to Monash, a special scholarship, which was on top of the fact that you weren't required to pay fees as with a Commonwealth Award. So academically, I was always very interested in developing that side of myself, because I had the ability and the skills. So if you've got those abilities and talents, you wouldn't want to waste them, I would have thought.
Did you do it because you could see the vision?
My first love was chemistry. When I was at school, together with another student, we would ask the chemistry teacher if we could stay after class and get the laboratory assistant to mix up different compounds and solutions that then we would use analytical techniques to determine what they were.
So it wasn't envisaging what was going to come next in technology. It was rather a curiosity for the actual science.
Well, chemistry was a love. I had a chemistry set at home. I used my chemistry set skills actually in 1971 when I went to the anti-apartheid demonstration. And took...
I asked very carefully, how so?
Took some devices that I thought could cause a little bit of a stir. I decided at the end, before I entered the ground at Olympic Park, to dispose of them, because I didn't think that they were going to do me much good. Actually, they were probably going to explode in my face rather than harm anybody else if I ever tried to use them. Anyway, that was One of the things that I did with my chemistry set, I also did other things. I brewed beer.
But it wasn't like you knew you wanted to be a doctor.
No, I wanted, chemistry was my love. I really wanted to get into research into chemistry. But what happened, I think, that put me off that path, at the end of my first year at university, when I got a vacation job in a research laboratory, I was doing a chemistry experiment, and it blew up in my face, and I ended up in hospital for a week with second-degree burns on my face.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you know what burns are, how they're categorised, second-degree burns, because the nerves are still intact, the most painful of the lot. And when you get to the most severe burns, all your nerve ends are destroyed, so it's no longer so much pain that you suffer. I remember going to the hospital with my head stuck out the window so that the air would be rushing past my face to cool off the burning sensation I had on my face. Luckily, I was wearing safety glasses at the time, and there was another person in the room in the lab with me who rushed me over to the sink and started to wash my face out to make sure that I wasn't going to have any permanent damage from the explosion. So I'm lucky that I did have some burns, ended up in a week in hospital, but it did perhaps discourage me from going down the path of being a chemist.
Yes, I imagine it would give you second thoughts.
Yes.
Do you remember if you had any other thoughts about life itself after experiencing that kind of trauma?
I had a girlfriend at the time who was very loyal to me and stayed with me the whole time, so I did learn a lot about support for other people when they're in dire need, and I think that I would like to have the opportunity perhaps to reciprocate when somebody else is in the same boat, because it is you're only concerned about yourself when you're in so much pain and anguish. You can't give anything to anybody else. You just all you think about is yourself and your own suffering. And
do you see a progression, a personal progression, after travelling, after experiencing that pain, in terms of how you treat other people and how you see other people in the world? Like, were you always really fixed on, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what this means? And then, having experienced other cultures, other people, having experienced pain and suffering yourself, do you think that you came out of all of that changed a bit or not? You don't have to have. I'm just asking.
Well, I don't see it as being a change, a discrete event that's taken me to a different level of existence. I feel like all these things go into the melting pot
of what it
and
is.
You become the sum total of all these experiences.
So this is a really good segue into, so how did you meet your wife, and did you know, and what was the circumstance of you getting married?
I got married on the first, well, I got married in December 1983. I met my wife, whom I had known already that she actually existed because she was connected through a girlfriend I had earlier. So on the 1st of January 1983, New Year's Eve, I actually went to a party together with her, and it all developed from there.
What did you like about her? What attracted you to her?
Well, she was a really staunch meditator at that time, would not touch alcohol with a barge pole, and I knew that if I was to continue in a relationship and we were to get married, that I would be expected to go and do the meditation course. We're talking about Vipassana meditation, and the courses typically are 10 days of meditation where you don't speak, whatsoever for the 10-day time, and they're quite difficult. Some people can't even imagine they could do that, and they can't even sit in quiet for half an hour
10
before
days
their minds get
speaking,
totally restless. So I did a few of these courses. I think I saw her as being a very strong-minded person. This was a skill and ability that she had that I definitely didn't have, that I found somewhat appealing.
So you met her.
We had a lot. I mean, we're both sort of coming from a common type of Jewish background. Her parents are also of Polish background, like my parents are. So we had a lot culturally in common with one another. And if I bring it forward to today, I would say that politically we are very closely together. And when it comes to me writing stuff that I want to send for publication to do with Israel advocacy, she's a fantastic editor.
How long has it been now that you've been married?
It's been 38 years.
Wow, that really is phenomenal, especially with so many relationships breaking down. What I found is that it's heartwarming. I have friends who are still together here in Australia. When I came back especially, it was noticeable, were together because they really wanted to be, and their relationship had grown stronger. And it would seem that from what you're saying in terms of what you had in common, that is also the case for you guys?
Yeah, I think we reinforce one another. I think that my wife has changed a bit since those early days. I always felt that Leah was a bit shy and not openly expressive. I wouldn't call her an extrovert by any means, and I was more on that spectrum. I was more willing to open my mouth and do things and say things. But I think that she has changed a lot over the years, and now is much more forthright in her views.
You've rubbed off on her?
Certainly makes her views, points out things to me very, very strongly sometimes in a way that she wouldn't have done 20, 30 years ago.
Were there tough times in your relationship where things weren't that great?
Yeah, I think every relationship goes through times that you're difficult. I think you end up. I think at the end of the day, you end up doing a bit of a calculation in your mind as to what would be the situation if you were not to continue a relationship, and try and imagine that as an alternative. Even though in a relationship it's often not. You're not in dreamland by any means. You don't have the same sense of love and yearning and desire for somebody as you have in an early part of the relationship. I don't know of anybody who's managed to maintain a relationship for decades that they keep that type of closeness with another person. Things change.
But it's not just pragmatism that kept you together. There were other things that saw you through and got you through the tough times. And can you identify what it was about her personality or your personality that managed to bring it all together and make it good again? Because it would have to be good again after you've gotten through the pragmatism of, gosh, it'd be worse if we weren't.
Yeah, I suppose I realised perhaps some things about myself, shortcomings about my own character and behaviour that she made me realise. I think that I saw her as being tolerant of some of these characteristics or my nature.
So we were just talking about things that we learn about ourselves, especially when we're in a relationship for a long time, and things that our partners might help us get through as well. Do you have an example that you might want to share?
I suppose something that's the freshest in my mind is what is current, rather than digging into the archives.
Of course.
I have a tendency with my wife in the company of others to say things about her in front of other people, which is not necessarily a fair thing to do. If she wants something divulged about what she thinks or what she does, she should be really the person that does that, and I shouldn't be putting her onto the spot by saying things about her, maybe not even critical, but I think that she says to me, I think it's something that's embedded now in my mind as a way of being. I suppose you still infringe when you are trying to behave in a certain way to improve yourself, but this behaviour is to not do or not say things about somebody. If you don't have something good to say about somebody, it's better not to say anything at all.
Were you even aware that it embarrassed her or that she didn't like it?
Well, if she were to come back when we were together and tell me, and it would happen repeatedly, I would quickly be able to get the message that was something that was concerning her.
And that example actually is not uncommon with a lot of men, because they don't realise, and they themselves have got a tougher skin, or they've never had it done to them as well, and so they don't understand the thing.
Yeah, it happened the other day that my wife did what I do to her. And I called her out immediately for doing that, and she didn't think it was a serious offence, but I think that it definitely crossed the line as far as I was concerned.
But I think it's also wonderful that you can laugh about it now too.
Yeah, it's not a make or break situation, but I think if it was to continue and I wasn't going to do something about it, it could be quite annoying for her if I would do that thing repeatedly.
So on both sides now, is it a lot easier for you to tell each other when things bother you about each other? Discuss it rather than let it build up. Yeah,
there's no point in keeping things to yourself that are a concern. If I think that she's certainly my best sounding board, without any doubt.
And in the jobs that you had, and some of them were really quite substantial and in large companies and corporations, you actually managed a lot of people and teams. So you have good people skills and management skills. Did you find that challenging, being in charge of people and seeing projects through? What were some of the things that you learnt while you were doing that about managing other people?
Well, typically on the teams that I worked in, I was in a team leadership role, which meant that you also were involved in the creation process. The thing with working together with other people is that if you're an independent worker where you don't have responsibility for other people, you can just do your work and not have to worry about what other people are doing. You're just responsible for what you do. When you're in a team and have responsibility for others, then you're concerned about what everybody's doing, what everybody's output is, and that means that you have to not only do what you're doing, but also be responsible for other people doing their work fruitfully. And it means having to sometimes draw people to account and be critical of what they're doing, and not find that you will put somebody offside. If you have somebody that is part of your team you're working with, and they become antagonistic towards you for any reason, you're going to lose them, and it'll be very hard to maintain cohesiveness in a team. So it's very important, I found, to be able to measure how you deal with other people and in order to get the maximum productivity from others.
And from what I can see, you were actually very successful at it. Did you get a lot of satisfaction from your work? Did you really enjoy it?
I did enjoy my work, although when I look back on it, the routine of getting up in the morning and typically working in the city, joining the early morning rush hour and getting into the city and all that, and then the routine of coming home after a hard day's work, of being a bit tired out and having to have a family now to be together with and have enough energy to put into that. I don't have any regrets about that. I don't really miss that at all. It was a daily humdrum that was something I'm glad to have behind me. And now what I do simply for the love of what I'm doing, for the pure satisfaction. When I go ahead and do an interview, I want to do it. It's not that I have to do it because that's part of the job and that's what my employer expects me to do. There is a certain expectation, of course, when you have a weekly radio program and you have to come up with something every week. And it's the show's on Wednesday and it's Monday morning, and all the feelers you put out to people for them to come and talk to me have not come through. You really wonder what in the hell you're going to do. I tell you, it does produce a little bit of tension, but it's not really one that really gets to me. I found that always when I've been in the situation that I've managed somehow to work it all out and make it happen.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. How many kids do you have?
I've got 2 sons.
And are they both here in Australia now?
Yeah, both live very close to me, yes, both within walking distance of where I live now, which is really nice.
Would you say you're really close to them, or is your wife closer to them? Who's got the...
No, I don't think there's any difference in the closeness of my wife and myself to my sons. I mean, one of my sons actually, at one stage I set up a business opportunity. I was going to set up something which was in the home automation arena, and I was working on a product that was leveraging off something that was available in the open source arena. And my son was extremely adept. My younger son is extremely adept at technology. When he went to Bialik at his last year of school, when he was selecting his subjects to do, one of the teachers there at the school said to him, because one of the subjects that he would have naturally gravitated towards was computer studies, but the teacher said that my son would be completely bored by doing computer studies and discouraged him from doing that. And instead, my son was put through the purgatory of doing Hebrew in his final year of school, but of course done for the purpose of giving you a bit of a boost with your results. You know, doing that extra subject as a language always helps in getting the score elevated. But because my son was extremely adept technically, he came into this business concept together with me, and we were working together for quite a long time on this idea. Unfortunately, it never was successful because the platform that we were relying on had technical faults. But it would have been something that would have been a very interesting product if it would have seen the light of day.
So it turns everything on and off in the house. Is that what it was?
It was like a server platform for home automation, and it would be the system that would control various aspects of home automation. Home automation being an area that I got particularly interested in.
I think there's still a lot of potential for that in the future because we're moving more and more towards it. I stayed at a hotel in Las Vegas where everything was controlled from an iPad, and it was phenomenal. Would you still like to do that you haven't done yet? What are some of the areas that you see in your future as giving you pleasure?
I don't think I'm going to take up anything completely new, although I did take up something completely new at the start of COVID. And that's something I can see myself extending. That's playing piano.
Oh, wow.
I can see a piano behind us while we're talking.
Yes, my mother went to a conservatorium in Russia, so she used to be really good.
So I've learnt piano, largely self-taught with wonderful online courses that I found. I started it all off by doing a course at the University of the Third Age in music, so I got the music foundation, and so I could read music properly before I started learning the piano.
Oh, wow.
And just the other day when I went into Officeworks to buy something, the woman who taught me, her name is Sonia, who's a wonderful dear lady who was my teacher there, who's now 88, was sitting there in a chair together with her son doing some photographs at Officeworks. So I told her that unfortunately I'm not doing my piano every day, but I think I've reached a plateau. And she's very proud, I think, of the students and what they've done. She's got another student, Maya Forsheimer, who's learnt the piano as well, went through her course. Well, and he not only did the piano, but he decided he's going to learn the violin as well.
Wow.
And he's older than I am.
David, I'm really, really impressed because I keep saying I'm going to go back and learn the piano because I have one here and I just never get around to it. So thank you for that little nudge.
Give it a go. There's nothing more satisfying than sitting in front of a piano and playing something that sounds like music. Of course, If anybody else was to listen to it, they would probably want to leave the room, but it does mean the timing probably isn't quite right when I play, but I certainly know that there's a bit of a musical lilt to what I play.
Well, and Lily High on Life is all about feeling good, so it sounds like you really have a plethora of...
You're making me feel guilty after this interview. I think I feel need to go home and do some piano practice.
If it makes you feel good, do it. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little better.